Still more to do. I could use some coffee. Hello, dear. What a nice surprise.
Hello everyone, N7 here, and with the Solstice of Heroes event in full swing, and I wanted to create a quick video showing you how to go from this to this with a few tips on saving you time. So let's go ahead and get started. I'll be covering the Warlock armor objectives, but if you want to see the Hunter as well as the Titan armor objectives, make sure to leave a like and feel free to comment down below if you have any questions during this video. So after talking to Eva Levante at the tower and completing a run in the EAZ, which is the seasonal event area, you'll get access to your first set of armor, the renewed set or the blue set. Here you'll need to complete objectives to progress to the next set of armor. And so going from the blue set to the final steps of the purple sets took me about 10 to 12 hours. But depending on who the player, it might take you longer or shorter. So want to give you a little bit of heads up on that. So let's go ahead and dive into the blue set, and I'll be giving you a few tips on how to go from there. So let's take a look at the helmet first. You need to complete an EAZ run completed, get void, solar, stasis, or arc orb generation, and finishers. So how to get the elemental orbs? You just pretty much kill enemies with an elemental weapon, ability, or a super, whatnot. Whatever element gets killed and kills the enemy, a little orb will appear. You just run over it and pick it up, and that'll be count towards that. And so it doesn't matter what kind of enemy it is, you'll be generating elemental orbs. Okay, let's move on to the gauntlets. Playlist 1 playlist activity completed, 10 Solstice packages opened, and 200 Cabal enemies killed. And then move on to the chest armor. 2 public events needed to complete. Generate void or stasis orbs in playlists, and you need 50 of those. And then you need to kill 30 guardians in Crucible. Next, we're going over to legs. We need 1 patrol completed. Orbs of power, for those who are new, welcome to Destiny. Orbs of power are pretty much orbs that are generated if you have a masterworked weapon, or if you're using your super. You get little white orbs on the ground that you can run around and pick up, and that's from created by your super. And speaking of supers, you need to get 50 kills with your super. So that actually works pretty well there. And then last of all, the Warlock bond. You need to create 3 lost sectors and generate 200 arc orbs in free roam, and then get 100 precision kills. So looking at these objectives, it might be a little bit overwhelming, but if you take a look and notice, there's some that seem a little bit close to each other, and you're very observant. So one nice thing is that these objectives can stack on top of each other, meaning that if you run, like say the EAZ to complete, you can be generating elemental orbs for the second objective. You can also be getting Cabal kills because the EAZ has a chance of spawning Cabal, so you'll be getting objectives for that. You can be popping your super, generating orbs, and you can be getting your precision kills. So even with just 1 EAZ run, you can almost complete a good maybe 5 objectives on your armor pieces for just 1 run. So I would say complete the EAZ run. You need to do that first. And then I would say move over to Crucible next, because you need to get the 30 Guardian kills. And even in Crucible, you can still get Elemental Orb kills and all that. And that will still count for your playlist activities. And then what you can do is switch to a Void or Stasis element, and that was in your playlist, and you can generate that. So there's a lot of objectives that can overlap, and if you just read what the objectives are, you can sort of dish out what you want to do, so you can save yourself time instead of just focusing, okay, I want to do the helmet first, do all that, and then, okay, what a chest piece. Just take a look at the objectives and sort of just note. So in summary, for the blue set to get completed, run EAZ first, then run Crucible, and then probably go choose a planet, do the patrols, do the 3 lost sectors, and by then you should have enough things completed to get to move on to the purple set. So we'll see you in a second. Now that you completed all your blue set, what do? Head back to the tower, and then you need to meditate at the statue in the middle of the tower, as you saw in the beginning of this video, and it will grant you the Majestic Set or the purple set. And so we have a new set of objectives, so let's go ahead and dive in and see what we need to do. So for the helmet, you need to defeat 5 EAZ mini bosses in a single run, and this needs to do that 3 times. So you need to run EAZ 3 times, pretty much straightforward there. Get 500 elemental orbs and rapidly defeat combatants, so get multi-kills. A nice little note for defeating 5 EAZ bosses. So let's say you're on one side of the map and you see that your friends are taking care of a boss. As long as you shoot the boss with a ranged weapon like a sniper or somehow get a rocket launcher over there, as long as you deal damage before the boss dies, that is considered a kill for you and get progression for that. So you don't actually need to kill the boss themselves. As long as you tag it, that's our term, is just get damage on the boss a little bit, you still can get progression. So if you're on the other side of the map, don't panic, just shoot the boss and you'll be able to get progress on that. So that's the only fun little tip there for the helmet side. All right, let's move on to the gauntlets. So one nice thing about this season is that they given Bungie has given you 2 options now to choose what kind of event you want to do. You can do Altar of Sorrows, which is located on the moon, or Override missions, which is this season's event activity to do. So I ran the numbers and I ran both. And for those who are new to Destiny, again, Altar of Sorrows, which again is located on the moon, is pretty much a wave-based activity. They're hive, and you have to do certain objectives in there, and there are 5 wave sets. And so for each wave, it gives you 5% progression towards that. So in there, since there are 5 waves, that gives you about 25% per run if you're able to get the whole Altar of Sorrows completed. Now, if you do the Override mission, it gives you 30% progress towards that. And personally, I would say do the Altar of Sorrow, even though the Override missions give you a little bit of 10% more progression towards it, is because of the with Override, there's a limited amount of enemies you can kill, because there's you're fighting for those orbs for 5 different people in the event. But with Altar of Sorrows, there's almost unlimited amount of enemies, and so you can pretty much progress fairly quickly, even though Altar will take a little bit longer for you to complete. So I would suggest running Altars for that. Empowerment buff gains, you need to get 20 of those. So since you're running a Warlock, instead of doing the Healing Rift option, you can choose the Empowering Rift option. So that's pretty much what I did with Altar of Sorrows, is just empower myself, staying in the little rift there, and go to town. And so that's fairly easy, straightforward. And then you'll need to do an arc weapon kill. So just any weapon that you have that has arc damage, run that, and you're good to go. All right, let's move on to the chest armor set. So again, there are 2 objectives you can choose from. The Blind Well, which is located in the Dreaming City, or Wrathborn Hunts. Now, I currently have all the DLC. I'm not sure. I'll have to check out my free-to-play account if you can access the Dreaming City, and I'm not sure if free-to-play players have access to Wrathborn Hunts. The problem is about these 2 objectives, it might be a little bit hard for you free-to-play players, is that hardly anyone is in the Blind Well. As the video you're seeing in the background, I was pretty much running the Blind Well solo, just seeing what percentage gave me, and I was running it solo again, so there was hardly anyone there in the Dreaming City. So if you can access the Dreaming City and cannot access the Wrathborn Hunts, you might have to do a few times to get progress. And so what I found was that the Blind Well gives you 10% ish, give or take, per round, and there's a 5 set, so that gives you about 50%, while Wrathborn Hunts, if you have access to it, will give you a 25% for the High Celebrant, For those who know about the event, you understand that. Or they'll give you 20% for a normal run. So again, all sort of a give or take depending, and hopefully you have access to Dreaming City if you're a free-to-play player. So this one I'm a little bit iffy about, so we'll see about that. Key fragments collected. Again, this is a passive thing. You don't need to really worry about going to a certain location to get it, because key fragments are just as you play the game, get kills, you'll get automatically given to you a certain percentage there. And then using your void grenades to get kills. Pretty straightforward there. All right, let's move on to legs. Again, you have two options. You have the Europa events or the battlegrounds, which is a playlist there. So from what I found there is the battlegrounds gives you about 34%, and it lasts about 9 minutes, while the Europa events gives you about 20%. See, the thing is about Europa, their public events does not spawn very as quick as other planets, which I don't quite sure they did that on purpose. But if you do have access to Europa, that might be a quicker way. But because they don't spawn so as quickly and as consistently as other planets, I would suggest running battlegrounds so you at least get other objectives done on your armor sets. And then you need to get melee kills with your solar class. So between the Europa or battlegrounds, I would say choose battlegrounds. And then you need to get solar and stasis, orbs, and playlist. Well, speaking of battlegrounds, which is really interesting, is that battlegrounds does not count as a playlist, even though you can queue up with people. So just keep note that when this says playlist, it means only normal strikes, no nightfalls, gambit, and crucible. Those are the only 3 playlists that will count towards your objective. So don't be grinding battlegrounds and thinking you're getting progression on your playlist when it does not really actually happen. All right, moving on to our final one, the Warlock Bond. So you need to get competitive PvP or nightfall completions. If you're a PvPer, run the PvP competitive survival, or if you're a PvE, just run the nightfall. I ran on the adept version, which is the easiest one for nightfalls, and I think a lot of people should be able to play it with no problem. It gave me progression, so you don't have to play a master or grandmaster difficulty. Just run the adept version, nice and easy, 10 minutes or less, and you'll get that done. Then you'll need to get void orbs and EAZ. Again, that's the seasonal event for Solstice Heroes. And then Powerful Fallen. Again, just you actually might get Powerful Fallen in Nightfalls. So, yeah, pretty straightforward there. There's a lot more variation with these armor sets, which is nice. It gives you a little bit of variety. But, yeah, that's pretty straightforward. And so I would say run Altar of Sorrows for your main objectives. They'll give you 4 elemental orbs, arc weapons, and your power mid buffs. Then run your Nightfalls for that objective. Run Battlegrounds. And then if you can, run Blind Well. But if you have access to Wrathborn Hunts, run Wrathborn Hunts instead, because Blind Well is very seldom people use it. All right. That was a lot of information, so let's move on to our last armor set. All right, now that you completed all those crazy objectives, head back to the tower for one last run and meditate at the statue so you can get your final objectives for that crazy white glow on your armor. So you're almost done. All right, let's look at what the helmet needs to do. So you need to do Master or Grand Master Nightfall Strike. And for those who are not quite up to par for Grandmaster Nightfall Strike, I suggest just running the master version of the Nightfall. Just run an LFG group, or what you could do is join our Discord channel, which is linked down below, and feel free to join and probably join our clan if you are on the PC side of things, and we can definitely run that with you and help you get your armor completed. All right, moving on to the gauntlets, you just need to complete a raid. Pretty straightforward and simple. If you have all the DLC, I suggest just run the Deepstone Crypt version. It's much smaller. It's the fastest one that you can get completed. But if you're a free-to-play player, I think the only raid that is open to you is the Vault of Glass. That takes a little bit of time, but there are plenty of people that are willing to lead you through and teach you how the mechanics work. Next is the chest armor piece. You just need to complete a dungeon, and there are currently three dungeons available to us. It is the Shattered Throne, the Pit of Heresy, as well as Prophecy. So complete one of those, good to go. I don't have a screenshot of the boots, unfortunately, for some reason, but the requirement is to defeat 15 champions or guardians in competitive Crucible modes. So 15 champions you'll find in Nightfall's, let's see, Legendary or above, or you can go into competitive Crucible playlists like Trials or competitive, which is survival and all that. So either of those, up to you. You get to choose and go from there. And then finally the bond. You need to complete a legendary or master lost sectors 3 times. And so if you have the availability, just run those legendary lost sectors. Just be mindful of what the mods are, so you can either go against overloads, barriers, or unstoppables. But those are pretty straightforward. You should be able to just solo those nice and easy. And congratulations, you have the white glow on your armor. That was a lot, but yeah, very satisfying. And again, if you want to see the objectives for the Hunter as well as the Titan, it'll take me a little time to grind those out, but I am definitely willing to for that if you want to see that. So go ahead and give a thumbs up and all that. Thanks for coming by and watching, and I'll see you in the next video.